Hi, friends. Welcome back to my channel, where I love to share about life in our suburban homestead. My name is Laura. My husband Glenn and I started this journey in the spring of 2022, but we have been training and preparing for this for many years. As homesteaders, we focus on growing our food, raising chickens, and developing traditional cooking skills to provide nutrient dense meals for our family. So, if these are of any interest to you, subscribe to my channel and let's grow in this journey together. Today, I'm going to show you a simple way to render beef fat to make tallow. If you've been thinking about making your own tallow but have been feeling intimidated by this process, let me assure you that this is way less complicated than you might think. First of all, let me explain a few terms that used to confuse me when I first started learning about this. Tallow is rendered suet. Suet is the fat that surrounds the internal organs of a cow. We use the suet to render it, which really just means to melt it, and then the end product is called tallow. So basically, suet is when it's raw, and tallow is after it's gone through the rendering process and is now ready to be used for cooking. So essentially, what I'm doing today is melting beef fat. We get all our meat from a local farmer that we trust, and using high quality suet is going to ensure we get a highly nutritious tallow that we can use in our cooking and even skincare routine. Yes, you heard that right. I use tallow to make a high quality and completely natural balm for my skin. It has done wonders for me. I used to spend over $30 on a 2-ounce jar of tallow balm until I learned to make it myself, and now I have it at a fraction of that cost. Let me know in the comments if you would like me to make a video showing you how I make my tallow balm. I have about 2 pounds of suet that I took out of the freezer maybe a couple hours prior. You don't want the suet to be completely thawed because it will be more challenging to cut. You can see that this suet has little bits of meat or other impurities. I will do my best to remove as much as I can, but I'm also not going to stress about it. And then you want to chop this into cubes roughly the same size. You will need a heavy bottomed pot or skillet, and for me, that is my cast iron skillet. Once I turn the heat on low, I put a small handful of fat into the skillet just to let it melt for a bit. I want to make sure I am stirring this constantly because I don't want it to burn. I'm letting the fat melt slowly. I'm essentially oiling my skillet here. You can see that there is a nice layer of oil on my pan, and now I am ready to add the rest of the suet into the skillet. There are many different ways of doing this. Some people like to do it in the oven or in a crock pot, but I found that this method is simple and it works well for me. Since we don't raise cows and we don't have a large amount of suet all at once that needs to be processed, a cast iron skillet is perfect for the amount of suet I have, and it does a great job at distributing the heat well. The trick to making tallow is patience. You want your heat to be on low and let it cook slowly. You will want to make sure you stir once in a while. I like doing this while I'm in the kitchen preparing another meal because I'm right there and I can constantly check on it. I know that if I set it on the stove and walk away, I will forget about it and potentially burn it. You can see how the suet is starting to melt nicely. Right now, the fat has a squishy texture, so this needs to keep cooking until the fat browns a little bit and becomes crunchy. While the fat continues to render, I wanted to take a little break to enjoy my chickens in the backyard. It was mid-November at the time of this recording. Our garden has been put to rest for the season. We have a row of garlic that we had planted a few weeks back. but we covered it with garden cloth to protect it from the chickens. They have been enjoying their freedom. And this is our first winter with chickens, so we are learning a lot, especially since we live in Michigan, where our winters can get very cold. Stay tuned for an update video on our chickens. You can see all the bubbling and splattering. That means there's still a lot of moisture in the oil. The two enemies of rendered fat are moisture and impurities. If your tallow has moisture in it, it will not store well and can even mold. What we're really looking for is for the bubbling and sizzling to stop. You can see here the bubbling has stopped, and at this point I'm ready to turn it off and strain it into my mason jars. You want to use some type of cloth, coffee filter, or in my case, paper towel along with a metal strainer. If you just use a strainer without another barrier that will keep out other little bits, your tallow can potentially spoil. And you want to make sure you don't use a plastic strainer because the oil is very hot and it will melt the strainer. Here I am straining out the cracklings. That's what these brown and crunchy bits are called. We like sprinkling a little bit of salt and eating them while they are still nice and warm. However, it was way too much for us to eat, and I wasn't sure how they would store, so we ended up throwing away a lot of it. I have since learned that chickens love to eat the cracklings, and I will feed what we can't eat to the chickens next time. I got about 2 pints of tallow. You can see the color is like a golden yellow, but as it cools, it will solidify and it will be an off-white color. Many people say that this is completely shelf stable and it doesn't need to be refrigerated. For now, I feel more comfortable storing it in my fridge. Since I only have these two small jars, it is not an issue for me to keep them in my fridge. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you give this a try, and I will see you next time.